Hi, I'm Cliff Ennico, legal and tax editor of itsyourbiz.com, with some thoughts on dealing with your employees. Do atheists have rights in the workplace? This is an extremely hot topic in employment law right now, and a friend of mine actually had this problem a couple of months ago. He runs a small landscaping service near where I live. He has about 30 employees, and one day he put a poster up in his office break room with a quotation. It was a quotation from the Christian Bible, but it wasn't particularly religious. It had to do with flowers and nature, which he felt was appropriate for a landscaping business. Well, a couple of hours after he did this, one of his supervisors came storming in, threw the poster on his desk and say, "This is offensive. You have offended me. I'm an atheist. I do not like to see religion promoted in my workplace. I have a right to a religion-free workplace." Is this individual right? Totally took my friend by shock, but is this person right? It's no secret that historically we've lived in a very religious country. For hundreds of years, people have fought to be able to express their religious beliefs in the workplace, and they've had some success in both the federal and the state courts. But things are starting to shift a little bit now due to the popularity of some books by authors like Christopher Hitchens and movies like that one called Religulous that came out last year. A lot of employers are starting to worry about whether if they have atheists among their employees, do they have to give them equal rights as well? And it's a very confusing problem for them because it's a relatively new issue and there isn't a whole lot of case law on it to give us guidance. But there are some general principles that can guide you in a situation like that if you're concerned about it. Number one, the supervisor is absolutely wrong on one count. Atheists do not have a right to a religion-free workplace. Neither the Constitution nor the Supreme Court has said that atheists have a right to a religion-free workplace. In fact, if anything, the Supreme Court has said quite the opposite. People have the right, within certain limits, to express their religious beliefs in the workplace, and employers must make reasonable accommodations to those religious beliefs. So, for example, if you have an employee whose religion requires that he not cut his hair, as long as it's no threat to either him or his other employees, he's not working a piece of heavy machinery where it might get caught and hurt him, you have to tolerate that. You have to go along with that. If a Muslim employee wants to put a prayer rug in his cubicle so he can do his daily 5 prayers to Mecca, as long as it's not interfering with his workload and not offending other employees, you have an obligation to tolerate that to a certain extent. But what about atheists? I mean, atheism is all about no religion at all. Clearly, giving an atheist a right to a religion-free workplace is denying other employees the right to express their religious beliefs and can actually get you into hot water under the federal labor and employment laws. So here are your obligations when it comes to religion. Number one, you must make reasonable accommodations to your employees' religious beliefs. We've already talked about that. Number two, you must take steps to ensure that you are not engaging in religious discrimination by sending the signal that people must convert or conform to a certain religion in order to be promoted or to have a career in your company. So, for example, if a group of employees want to meet at lunchtime and have a prayer group, that is something I think as an employer you have to tolerate. You'd have to make a reasonable accommodation to their religious beliefs. But if those employees in that prayer group are all of your senior management employees, including yourself, you may be sending a signal to other employees that people who have other religious beliefs will never be part of that inner circle that runs the company. So be careful about that. If you do allow employees to have prayer meetings during their lunch breaks, make sure that they're not all of your senior managers, because that could send a very negative signal to other employees. Last but not least, you are required to make sure that even though you are required to tolerate people's religious beliefs, you are not, if any employee asserts his beliefs in such a way as to create a hostile work environment, you have not only the right but the duty to stop that from happening. So if one of your employees is climbing up on the lunchroom table and preaching hellfire and brimstone during the lunch break, telling everybody they're all going to go to hell if they don't convert to his religion, you not only have a right but a duty to stop the person from doing that, even to the point of terminating that person if the behavior becomes too offensive. So what about that poster? What about that flower and nature poster? It's kind of a tough call. If the poster had been within the person's own office, it probably wouldn't have been a problem at all. There is no law at all that prohibits people from having artwork or other decorative items in their office that demonstrate their allegiance to a certain faith. If someone wants to put up a picture of Jesus or the Buddha or something like that in their office place, that is something you have to make a reasonable accommodation to. I think the problem here is that the supervisor put it up in the break room, which is a public place where it could be seen by other employees, and even if they weren't atheists, some other employees might have taken the position that the boss was making a religious statement of some kind. So maybe in this case, discretion is the better part of valor, and he shouldn't have put the poster up. But be sensitive. Obviously, we live in a very diverse workforce right now. There are all kinds of people out there who are offended at things that, frankly, people weren't offended by 20 or 30 years ago. But you as an employer have to make certain that your behavior complies with the law. Do atheists have the right to a religion-free workplace? Absolutely not. Do people have the right, though, to express their religious beliefs in the workplace to a certain extent? The answer is absolutely yes. It's up to you as the boss to make sure that whatever religious expression takes place within your workplace is within the bounds of federal law. I'm Cliff Ennico for it'syourbiz.com.